Good morning. Is it working? Good. All right. Two important things. A, I'm a teacher. I'm not a preacher. Big difference. And B, you have the accent, not me. My full name is Zachariah Anani. I came from Lebanon, Beirut. The Ananis, as very well-known Islamic families, very noble, in 3 different countries, Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. In the old times, the Ananis used to be leaders of horsemen for the Islamic empires. But with time, hundreds of years ago, they shifted a little bit to be holy men, imams. Imam is the highest clergy in Islam. So great-grandfathers became imam, and the line went down to my great-grandfather, which I met him only for a very short time. Then my grandfather, and then my father skipped the row. He was a womanizer, alcoholic, anything to prevent him from being an imam, a holy man. So the family thought, I'll be the next in line. I would be carrying the torch for the family. So I was introduced to Islamic schools since I was 3 years old. Mimic the Quran, the prayers. The Quran is their holy book. The prayers and everything. And every time, it's like ordinary school sometimes. I reach a stage, I move to another school, and so on. By the age 13, like many boys in my area by that time, and most probably the whole world, I was so rebellious. And when I one time watched those warriors marching the streets of Beirut, I was amazed with them and with their shining weapons. So I decided to be the warrior who will reach heaven, knock at the doors of heaven with the skull of Allah's enemy, God's enemy, and say, here's my gift to you, let me go into your heaven. So I joined the militant fragment. And I was okay with the family, because in Islamic doctrine, only the warrior who dies in the battlefield, killing the enemies and getting killed, is to reach heaven. Is his family to be respected and feared. So I joined when I was 13. I was trained. And when I was 14, I had my first kill, and they celebrated I became a man. Now, this life of training, fighting, battling, all the time, blood, wounds, fights, all of that is really make life very dim and dark. And it would have only one of 2 solutions. So it will lead to one of 2 targets. Either the warrior will become a very fanatic, lunatic Muslim who would doing what, like your 9/11 and what happened lately, or the zeal will disappear and nothing left in him but a fighting machine. In my case, the zeal disappeared. There was nothing left in me but fighting. I didn't renounce Islam, but I lost the zeal. I lost the core of the faith. I stayed there fighting for the cause, if you want to put it this way, but no more a human being, if you want to put it this way. So this life became so rigid in a way that I really reached a point that I will never, ever touch the 18th or the 20th of my life. I'll be killed before then. So life meant nothing to me. Neither the lives of others, neither my life. And when you think that you are dying tomorrow, then who cares? Really. I'll give you an example, share you with the story. One time they brought a very religious guy to my regiment. He started knocking at our doors at 3 o'clock in the morning for the first prayers. Next morning, I catch up with him in the kitchen, put my hand around his shoulder, very friendly, and says, don't come and wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to come to the prayers at 3 o'clock in the morning. He looked at me in a stiff way and said, my duty is to come and wake you up. It's up to you to come to the prayers or not. I looked at him in a very challenging way and said, you come and wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to shoot you. 3 o'clock in the morning, he knocks on my door. I pull out my pistol from under my pillow, look at the door, measure where his chest at, and shoot him through the door and go back to sleep. As simple as that. So that's how life went going on. I went from a fragment to another, from a rank to another, till I became almost like a troop leader. Then we started really under the table, the fights between us in 1973. 1973, the Palestinians went out of their camps. They tried to make a small revolution, but the Lebanese army, backed by the Christian population, which was 70% of Lebanon, pushed them back. So they knew they are not equal to the might of the Lebanese army alone. So what they did, they turned to us, the small Muslim fragments, weaponized us, organized us, and when it became in 1975 a real colliding with them, we went out to the streets with them. Now this time, the Christian population decided to back up the Lebanese army. We back up the others, so now it is like a religious war between Christians and Muslims. The fragments of Muslims, which we were really killing each other almost daily there, now we united against the new enemy, the Christian. So I led my regiment against our new enemy, the Christian, mainly Catholic. But, this civil war, 1975, whoever watched the news by then would discover it has a very funny feature in it. It will blow up completely for a couple of weeks, everything gets loose, and then get a peaceful spell for maybe a month or two. Or it will break for 2 months and then have a spell of peace for a week or two. And in this time of peace, life is normal. We go to school, we go to work, normal. I mean, you go to the street and pick up a taxi, as normal as. But there is borders between the areas where the fights go on. So in one of those peaceful spells, my whole regiment wasn't there. And I felt bored. So I decided to go to a movie. Either I will see a training film, or I'll pick up a fight. So I picked up my dagger, which was my specialty then, and went to this movie. The whole movie, 300 seats, there was only one old man, and the movie was dull. So I decided to leave. At the door, instead of turning left to go to the bus to my area, I turned right. And at the corner, there was this gathering, which I thought it was a fight. So, I dashed to it. A few feet away stands this tall American. And I said, wow, an American. You see, I was trained and weaponized to kill Jews and hate Americans. So I turned to walk away when this American said in a Jordanian accent, which I knew it very well, he said exactly, Jesus Christ will give you hope, will give you new life, will give you salvation. He used the word in Arabic, Yeshua, for Christ. That's the Arabic word for him. I've never heard it before. I know Christians exist. I've been fighting them for a few months. But who is this Yeshua? And then is there really hope, new life, salvation? Let's ask this guy. Most probably he knows what he's talking about. So I stood there till he finished talking with the other guys, and they left, and it was about time for me, and he turned to leave. Then I raised my voice, and I said, do you believe in what you are saying? He turned to me, looked at me, and said, yes, of course. I said, okay, go ahead, explain it. He started. All of a sudden, I said, hold it. I can prove to you that your God, your Christ, does not exist, not in my life. I said, okay, go ahead. I picked up an event, I went through it a few months before that. I was coming back from a battlefield with 2 warriors, 1 girl, 1 boy, and we were ambushed. In an ambush, you run for your life. All right? Behind the rocks, the girl was next to me, the boy was not there. So I turned and looked a little bit to see how many are attacking us and where's the boy. I need him there and then. He was already injured still, he was already injured on the floor but still alive. The girl decided to help him. I refused. She looked at me in a very strange way. I'll never forget it. She picked up her K-47, it's a machine gun, jumped above the rocks, walked towards the injured guy, shooting, shouting, reaching, grabbing, pulling backwards. And I said, I'll be an animal. So I jumped, started the same thing, shooting, shouting, reaching, grabbing, and pulling back at the same time. Only a couple of feet before the safety of the rocks, the girl tumbled over me. So I grabbed her with the boy who was dead by then and threw them in a militant way behind the rocks. When I seated her, her eyes were flipping so quick and her mouth was wide open, and I could see this red line coming down from under her military jacket. And when I opened it, there was a wound in the size of my fist. So as calm as I was, picked up my pistol and shot her down. And then I flipped. I picked up her machine gun and mine, jumped against the others, walked towards them, shooting and shouting, completely crazy cuckoo, like a death wish. What happened was against all kind of military training. They were sitting next to landmines. One of my bullets hit the landmine, killed a lot of them, and then gave me a couple of shrapnels in my forehead, went unconscious. People passing by found I'm still alive. They carried me to the hospital. I asked this guy, if your Christ was there, why the girl had to die? I mean, it was me who refused to help. He looked at me and asked me the question which has really shaken me. He looked at me and said, why you were the only one to come back alive? Why didn't you die? And in 1 second, I could remember all those times when I was the only warrior to come back. One time out of 45 warriors, I was the only one to come back. And he bothered me. Really, he really bothered me. I don't want to talk to him anymore. So I tend to walk away. No buys nothing. But he was a wise soul winner. He was a Southern Baptist missionary from my organization called OM, Operation Mobilization. He was a very wise soul winner. He ran behind me, pushed his card against my shoulder, and says, call me whenever you want. So I picked up the number, put it in my pocket, and went home. That night, the giant in me refused to sleep. And trust me when I say that giant, there is an article about me when I first came to this country. I had saved a guy from being killed by 3 black people in a gas station. That much I was, a giant and fit. So that giant that night refused to sleep. I sat down at the edge of my bed, put my head between my hands, and his words ding, dong, all the time. Next day, I go to a part-time job, which I like it a lot because it used to allow me to read, printing shop. I'm standing in front of the printing machine, old one, and Jan stopped. I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing nothing. The former came and hit me on my shoulder to wake me up. I get mad, beat him up, go home, pick up my pistol, and come back to him. Half the way on the stairs, I stopped and said, okay, Zach, what you're going to do is you're going to shoot this man. You've seen enough blood in your life. So why don't you go out, call this guy, his phone number in your pocket, and calm down. And I did. I called him. And the first thing I said to him, I got a pistol, and I can kill someone if you don't talk. So the guy started talking. And when he reached to the point where he said that Christ had died for me, I burst in tears. The ultimate shame. I would bite on my lips where I left a lot of white lines and bleed them and never cry. And that time, I cried. I never know why I did, but I cried. So he asked me to put my pistol aside and come to meet with him. He showed me where to go, to the house. So I did. I put my pistol with someone I know, and I went straight to there. There he was waiting for me with another Lebanese Christian. We sat down, we talked, and out of sudden, this Lebanese Christian brought a New and Old Testament, offered it to me, and he said, please bless us with a reading. I opened it, and the first verse I read was, come to me, all you tired, and I'll give you rest. I went on my knees and I said, Christ, I don't know you. I've never heard about you. This is the first time someone tell me about you. I'm a very bad boy. I've cheated, I've lied, I've committed adultery, I even killed human beings. And I don't believe that I'll ever be a good boy again in my life. But I promise you only one thing, that I'll try. You change me. I surrender my soul and my heart to you. And I stood up and walked out. Went to pick up my pistol and went to walk beside my only friend, the seashore. Lebanon, all their western borders, sea. We are at the Mediterranean. And every time life became so dim, dark, and hopeless, I never shoot myself. I just go to the sea, sit down, talk to the waves, and listen to the waves for hours. This time, I went and walked beside the seashore, thinking what has happened. I became a Christian. I prayed. Ooh. And then out of sudden, my hand is heavy. I turned to see I'm carrying my pistol. And I knew that it was going to be a window to evil, which I don't want it to anymore. I threw it to the sea, and from that minute on, I'm a free man. Now, I will go through very major points to let you know why I'm standing in front of you speaking. First step, actually, because I come from a very tough background, and I used to think that I'm indestructible. Big, huge warrior, black belt in Taekwondo, trained killer. I thought that's it. I mean, I'm the king of the forest. So, next day, immediately, I go and told my parents that I became a Christian. My father took that small little blue New Testament from my hand, shredded it, slapped me twice, stepped backward. And I looked at him and I said, you beat me or you destroy the Bible, it doesn't make a difference. I'm a Christian. So what happened, my mom, who comes from a Catholic background, she became a Muslim and married my dad. She was scared that people would think that she made me Christian. So she went out to the streets, knocking at every door, telling them, be careful for your son, from my son, he became a Christian. So my story blew up in the whole area. Yet a killer warrior like me became a Christian. It's impossible. I mean, especially in the midst of a Muslim area. No way. So persecution didn't come till it was confirmed at the end from my acts and my mom's role that I became a Christian. First step of changing life, that I became evangelist. One time I go back home and my mom said to me, they need you in the mosque where they pray. I said, I don't care. I don't go to the mosque. At the evening, 13, 14 of them came in and said, we need you in the mosque. Okay, let's go. We went. As soon as I walked in, I knew that I was in trial. Two persons, one to my left, one to my right, three imams in front of me, and all multitudes behind them. And the first question the imam asked me, son, have you strayed? And I said, what do you mean? He said, means you left the religion of your father and the fathers of your father. I said, oh, you mean I became a Christian? Yes, I did become a Christian. So the guy with all this hubble bubble, start like what you would say, like interrogating with me. And if you were there, you would have said about him the most clever person in the world, and about me the most stupid person in the world. I mean, he could take me up, down, left, right, turn circles around me. I was so dumb. Finally, I felt that my head is this size. So I shouted. Everybody kept quiet. I said, look, maybe what you are thinking is right, what I'm thinking is wrong. Maybe what you are saying is right, what I'm saying is wrong. Maybe what you are believing is right, and what I'm believing is wrong. But there is something planted in my heart. Not you, not 10 people like you, not any force in the whole universe can shift me a little bit. Do whatever you want. So he looked at me very serious and started saying, do you believe so-and-so? Do you believe so-and-so? Do you believe so-and-so? And I would say, is it written in the Bible? He would say, no. I said, I'm sorry, I can't believe in it. So finally, I was excommunicated. That means in Islam that if I don't come back a Muslim within 3 days, I'll be beheaded, I'll be killed. If I'm married, then I'm immediately divorced. I don't inherit. I have no testimony anywhere, and so on. I don't exist. Civilly, I don't exist. Everything disappears. So I'm not there anymore. So I didn't care. But I got the worst beating outside and they had to carry me back home. When I woke up, comes this question. Why? Why it is in Christ, not in Muhammad, their prophet? Why it is in Christianity, not in Islam? Why it is in the Bible, not in the Quran, their holy book? So I went to the street and bought myself a Quran. Remember, I come from a clerical family. We have all kinds of Qurans in our house. But I wanted a book. No one have touched it before. So I would read that book and search for God in it. And trust me, if I had found God in that book that day I would have become back a Muslim. But, strangely, for the first time, while I'm reading it, I discovered this unbelievable mistakes. And I said, no. God can't make a mistake. Let's read it in another perspective. And no matter how I read it in a different vision, like geography, history, literature, theology, logic, the mistakes came bigger. And here comes the second mistake. Okay, Zach, who are you? Look at your grandfather. He's a big imam. He's close to 8 years old. He's most probably spent at least 50 or 40 years of his life leading Muslims. There is plenty of imams like him in your area. Couldn't they see what you saw? I mean, who are you to say that those are mistakes? So, I did the second dangerous step. I went and joined a very, Muslim university called Al-Azhar. It took for me years to finish, and they accepted me in the beginning because of my name and my family name. It took for me years to finish because I wanted to know, and that would really help me to be the knowledgeable guy I am now. So let's go back a little bit backward. So that was the first step of preparing me to what I am now. Persecution didn't come immediately, but then it came. And I believe 7th attempt, because they tried to kill me in Lebanon about 18 times. The church who I belonged to by that time decided that's it. And by that time, Beirut was divided into sections. The western side for the Muslim, the eastern side for the Christians. So the church decided that's it, you're moving to the Christian area. And I did, where I really almost lived almost a normal life, graduated, married, kids, worked my work up high till I became an interpreter in the presidential palace and at the national TV. Life was really smiling. You know, when you are in the presidential palace in the Middle East, Eddie been to Middle East countries, he can tell you what kind of people, or how they treat them when they are at presidential palace. I mean, we are high VIPs, really. So, God had really blessed me a lot. I was so poor enough that I didn't put shoes in my foot till I was 11 years old. Now I own 2 homes, one in the city, one in the mountains. I'm covered medically by the American University Hospital of Beirut. I'm working. And within my church, since I'm an Islam professional, every time the church faced a challenge by any Muslim group, they'll call me. And I'll go and defend the faith. So I thought, that's it. That's my life. I'm making enough money. I am living good life. And I'm also working my church work. Keep it that way. So that's it. But God has another plan. In 1993, the Muslims win the civil war. They break into the Christian areas. It was only a matter of time to find me. And in the last attempt of my life, they injured me and my youngest daughter, Jessica. The church is the one who got spooked. I didn't want to leave, but they said, nope, you're leaving. In the 3rd meeting in my house, they ordered me to leave. Believe it or not, there was no embassy in Beirut, so I had to go to Damascus, and with no appointment, within half an hour, I had a visa. Against all kind of odds. Actually, I even gave the counselor there the wrong answer, so he sent me back because I didn't want to go. But God had another way of thinking. She told me, come at 2 o'clock and take your visa. I was upset. Serious. Then I come here. Here in America, very strange. Although I was, on the process of being a refugee because of my story, but I wasn't covered medically, and I didn't have a work permit, and life went down. Here I am in a very shady room in Michigan, Detroit. I had no food. I had some rotten bread and one can of a Diet Coke. I'm diabetic. And I couldn't believe what happened to me. One day I was so mad at God that if he was a man in front of me, I would have really hit him. I couldn't understand why he did that to me. He brought me from the top of the mountain when I walked on the streets and people would stand to salute me, to a place where I can't even feed myself. I can't protect my family in the old country. I can't be nothing. I can't even speak the language very well. Now I'm a lot better. And I couldn't understand why he did that. So I stood up so angry, crying in the middle of the room, picked up everything and hit the wall with it. And when there was nothing to break anymore, I dashed out to the street in the rain, crying. I couldn't understand what's happening. Even I didn't know where I'm going. I reached the intersection. I stood there, and a car passed by. And the front plate on the car was written on it, Jesus Care. And I stood like a nail. And here comes the thought which made me stand in front of you, the evangelist who is traveling the whole world now in front of you. It said, maybe I'll never see the fruits of my work. Maybe in 400 years, if the Lord doesn't come back before then, he will allow me to look through from a special window in heaven down to this earth to see that this glorious land did not become radical Muslim land because he brought the right people to the right place and the right time as a shield against that wave and gave me peace. Soon, some of the brethren, after a big story, there's no way of talking about it now, took my case to the Canadian government. The Canadian government sent me a letter saying, you be in the Canadian borders within 4 days. That is in 1997, I believe so. And within a few weeks, I was medically covered and I had work permit and life started smiling slowly again. And then the life really, with a very strange story, God didn't allow me to find a normal job. And out of sudden I found myself involved in what I'm doing now in a big circle, range. What I do, 3 things. A, I defend the faith. I debate imams all over the world, which I'm not doing it very much now. I train missionaries how to reach out Muslims, and that's how I met Eddie in 2001. And the thing I love the most, I go out to the streets and bring Muslims to Christ cheap. That's what I really do. Now, before I give you the floor to ask questions, let me tell you something very important. Muslims are different than Islam. You have to make a differentiation between Islam, the religion, and Muslims, the individuals, the followers. The doctrine is so dark and dim and a killer. It's satanic. But the followers, the Muslims, the individuals, are normal people, no bad how they are or good how they are. They deserve to reach heaven like you. And this job is commended to us since Christ's time. So it could be really dangerous and difficult, so it doesn't mean that you have to be in the streets. Maybe you're not called to be in the streets like I am. I'm a guy who doesn't get scared easy, and God had prepared me to be in the streets. But definitely you can be something in the army of reaching out to Muslims, because you don't have to travel anymore. They are here in your schools, in your convenience stores, in your army, in your police force, in your universities. You can meet them. You're not going to be cocooned for a very long time here like you used before. It's actually knocking on your doors. You see what happened in Chattanooga a few days ago? So it is your difficult, impossible almost task to change the tide and make the Muslims Christians, make their mosques empty and your churches full. There's plenty of things I didn't talk about because I will leave it for your questions. Here's your chance. Please ask. And don't be shy. I'll answer no matter what. Go ahead.
When you come and you ask a Muslim,
Sorry?
when you come to a Muslim and you're talking with them and you're asking them about what do you believe, and he tells you that he
Well,
believes,
my way of approaching is a little bit different because I go to the streets and pick them up. It's not like you might find them by coincidence at your work. So what I do is I use some tricks sometimes. I'll go to a coffee shop and sit down and put their holy book upside down. So they come to correct me, and then I strike a conversation with them. So things like that. But you don't have to. I mean, you could go to a convenience store. You will find someone who is a Muslim, let's say. You say hello, say any Arabic word, and then he will strike a conversation with you, and then you ask him about his salvation. Ask him if he dies, where is he going? As simple as that, because he wouldn't know. Nobody in Islam knows where is he going. You do.
I was raised in this country, not as he, Muhammad Ali. I didn't know about him until I got older and had military service. I can use the word Islamic terrorism. I can use it no problem at all.
I don't blame you.
What's that? President said.
My dear brother, that's why I keep telling them Islam, the religion, is terror and dark. Muslims could be good and could be as evil as. But still, Christians also can be that.
We weren't raised to hate.
No, yes, that's what when I talk about doctrine. In our doctrine we love, and their doctrine they hate. Our doctrine is doctrine of life. Their doctrine is the doctrine of death. You see, their famous general Muhammad time, when he reached to the doors of a city, he would say one sentence, or three sentences. He would say, I came to you with people, they love death more than you love life. So, start from there.
I fought with Muslims raised in this country. Not fought out and fought with them in war. They were okay. I mean, they were great. My buddy just thought the way we did. They enjoyed the Coca-Cola, enjoyed what I did. We didn't talk religion at all. Maybe we should have.
All right, let me put it this way. The Muslim is a good Muslim till he turns to be a true Muslim. I'll give you an example. Sir, if you had 100 members in your church, could you say with all white heart that all of them pay their tithing? Does this make them not Christians? They are Christians, but they are not practicing Christians, right? That's in Islam. The Muslim who is not fighting and killing is not practicing Muslim. There is no radical Islam and nice Islam. There's only one Islam. There's either non-practicing Muslims or practicing Muslim. That's what happened to this Jordanian who killed those Marines. He wasn't practicing Muslims till he went to Jordan. They brainwashed him. He came back practicing Muslim. So what was the first thing he do? That means he's not practicing Muslim. I'll give you an example. In Michigan University, a professor stood up and said in anger, no, 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 you are mistaken, you are really misleading, we don't fight. Unless if we, we're attacked and all of that. Other than that, we don't fight. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. I said, okay. Sir, do you fast? He said, yes. I said, why do you fast? He said, because I have to. I said, no, 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 no. If someone asked me, are you baptized? I would say, yes. And when they ask me why you are baptized, I'll open my Bible, read the verse which it says you should believe and be baptized. So I'm obeying a written order from God to me. What about you? Why you are fasting? Oh, because it's written in my book that I should fast. I said, fine, show me the verse. The guy gladly opened his Quran, English Arabic Quran, and he read the verse where it says, it's prescribed on you, O Muslims, to fast. I said, fine, can you obey this order? Yes. I said, please go down 9 verses. He go down 8 or 9 verses, I forgot, and it says exactly, O Muslim, is prescribed on you to fight even if you don't like. And then I said to him, if you are practicing obeying Muslim, why are you not fighting? And if you are not fighting, why are you fasting? No answer.
I believe that if Iran gets nuked, Israel, the Israelites, Israel has some of the best intelligence in the world to know things are all over. I believe if they bomb Iran, I believe my country will step in and bomb Iran too. Even though the president disagrees with it, I believe we will be taken over with the people in the Pentagon that knows what to do. They will not let it be destroyed. I believe in Jesus Christ. That's where he was born. I don't always get along with a Jew, but I respect it. So maybe I'm making a mistake saying these things, but how I feel myself. I've been there, man, and I've done it. I'm not trying to bring it. I'm a brave man, all that kind of stuff, but I can see something that's about to come across. A lot of people are hiding it. Don't hide it. They will get the bomb.
Actually, this is our...
That thing will start destroying the whole world if they start throwing nukes around.
Well, my brother, this is our problem with our media nowadays. They really don't tell you the truth right away.
I love you. You're my brother in Christ.
Praise God for that. I love you too.
I'm going to say what I feel. I'm 91. I've been there and done that.
Praise God.
Veterans free wars.
Like you still have persecution.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Muslims until now didn't give up of taking me out of the picture. Illinois, lately, the very last thing happened, someone reared me for the second time. First time and the Canadians took it as a car accident. Second time, I still go to physiotherapy out that because of my neck. He was arrested because now it is an attempt. Same person, same way, next year. And they poisoned me, they burned my car once, they beat me so many times. But that's normal when you're out to preach to Muslims in the streets of Detroit. That's very normal. One more last question. Anybody? Yes, sir. Right. Yeah, they are not mainly. All right. Mainly, first of all, 80% of the Muslims are not really practicing, but they're still Muslim. And second, by the way, if your daughter-in-law, okay, I will leave with a pastor my connections, email, and phone number, anytime, no matter what. If you have any question, she's most welcome to call and ask, and I'll answer. But I'll give you an example. For instance, in the Quran, very strange, I can prove that Jesus is God better than the Bible. because of the Arabic word. I'll give you an example. It's the same story taken from the Bible, the story of Christ's birth. The angel came, he meets with Mary, and then he says to her, I'm here to postpone on you a righteous son. The closest word is righteous. But actually in Quran, Arabic, it's deeper. Remember the vowel. It is Zaki, son. Zaki in Arabic means faultless, sinless. I asked 300 imam in Jordan, who is faultless and sinless? They said, God. I said, okay, that means your Christ in your Quran is God. See, as simple as that. In the Bible, I have to put verses together. In the Quran, I use one word. And this, they are speechless. And I'll give you a small mistake, for instance. The first mistake, which has really pulled my attention. God, accordingly, was talking about how to destroy a city, like Sodom. He said exactly the sentence says, if we, that means God, decided to destroy a city, I will order the rich people, they will commit adultery, then they have to be punished, and then I annihilate the whole city. I asked him, first of all, who decided here? They said, God. What God decided? To destroy. I said, but there is no dark side in God. God does not create people to destroy them like a mentally retarded little kid. He makes dolls from clay, and then when he finishes playing them, he goes around destroying them. There is no dark side in God. 2, what did God order the rich people to do? Commit adultery. That means himself is an adulterist, because the one who ordered adultery, that means himself is adulterist. And God can't be an adulterist, cannot commit adultery. And 3, what did whom he ordered? He said the rich people. What did the rich people do? They obeyed him. He ordered them to commit adultery, and they did. So why would he kill them? And 4, the last one, he destroyed the whole city. Now, the question is the whole city rich people? No middle class? No poor people? So he kills the poor and the middle class by the sin of the rich people. That was the first mistake came. Unbelievable. I saw it, and I looked around, and those big imams can't see it. And so on, many things like that. Well, it was very nice to be among you. Remember, you are supposed to do your work, which will come to you, even to your area in the future of reaching out to Muslims. Maybe you cannot be, or you're not called to be like me into the streets witnessing and calling Muslims to Christ. But definitely you are called for something else in it. You can be a prayer warrior. You can be an organizer. You can be a supporter. You can be someone who donates for the service to go, because people like me, without your help, prayers, and support, we cannot keep going on. So please keep that in mind. God bless you.